Are we ready? Ooh, this is loud.
Whoa, we got your volume up this time.
Okay. So it's 1:30, and my name is Charles DeFuria, and I'm the chairman of the Oklahoma County Planning Commission. And this is the April 21st, 2022 meeting. The notice of this meeting was posted on April 14th, 2022. And I'm calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Tyler.
The members of the Oklahoma County Planning Commission is Mrs. Jennifer Craig, here. Mrs. Denise Patterson, here. Mr. Charles DeFuria,
here.
Mr. Benjamin Wise,
here,
and Commissioner Carrie Bloomer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was on February 17th, 2022. So do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, Tyler?
Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
Okay, items number 5 and 6. Tyler, understand they withdrew these items.
Yes, we had written confirmation that they request that this item be, both item number 5 and number 6 be removed and withdrawn from the agenda.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 7, which is a discussion.
I think you have to vote on that, don't you?
Withdrawal. The withdrawal? Gretchen? No?
No?
Okay. Okay, all right. Item number 7 is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny the replat RE-2022-01 of Addington Farms 2, Section 1. Can we get a report, Tyler?
Yes. This is just a correction made on the plat to change the address. The address was mistakenly put down in the wrong sequence, and that's, in order to do this, we have to change the plat. And that's all. It's more of an administrative type action, but it has to have your approval and also the county commissioner's approval to be done.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Any questions for Tyler?
So this is just changing, it looks like it's just changing the address by one number.
Yes. Which address is being changed?
Yeah, it was on
The 22559 is incorrect. It should be 22589. And it should be on the,
it's right here. Yeah, it's not on that one, it's on the big one. Wow.
Let's see if it's, yep. Okay.
Okay.
I've already got it.
Oh, you got it? Okay. You got it? Okay. All right, great. Okay. Any other questions for Tyler? Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of the proposal? Come forward, please. And state your name and address, please.
Joel Harrison with Craft and Toll, 300 Point Parkway Boulevard, Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099. There's nothing else I'd really like to add, but I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay. Any questions for, say your name again?
Joel Harrison.
Joel, any questions for Mr. Harrison? Okay, thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. Okay, hearing none, I'll take entertain a motion to either approve or deny.
I move to approve.
Okay, roll call, Tyler?
Mrs. Craig, Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria,
Yes.
and Mr. Wise,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
All righty. Item number 8 is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny the general plat GP 2022-04 of Waterloo and Portland Office Park. Report, Tyler, please.
Yeah, this particular area was already zoned for commercial business, and the people that want to develop it has to present to you a general idea of what they're going to do. And at this point, it's just a approval of their general drawing of the plat. And next phase would be to start construction after the preliminary plat is approved. So this is a general idea of what they plan to do there.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Tyler?
Yeah, I have one. It looks like there's a pretty significant water feature there to the north that looks to me like it would probably be a leach and, into the aquifer. I'm assuming that they're gonna have to do some pretty significant things to make sure like oil from cars and stuff doesn't run in there.
Yes, but that should be discussed in the preliminary plan.
Preliminary.
This is just a general idea. We can talk about that later.
Any other questions for Tyler? Okay, if there's anyone in favor of this proposal, please come forward, please. State your name and address.
Hello, Jessica Bloy with Johnson and Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue, Suite 200, 73104. And we are representing the applicant, so I am here to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have questions for, your last name was Blue?
Bloy?
Oh, Bloy, okay.
Yes.
Questions for Ms. Bloy? Okay, thank you, Ms. Bloy. Is there anyone here who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny.
I'd move to approve.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Craig? Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Furia?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer?
Yes.
Okay, item number 9 is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny the preliminary plat, PP 2022-02 of Waterloo and Portland Office Park. Okay, Tyler?
Yes, basically, this is, they're ready to start construction, and they proposed all of the features, all of the engineering work has been placed and showing what they intend to do, and need your approval, pass or fail. And this is the part where you will ask those kinds of questions about drainage and so forth.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to add just kind of some backstory on this piece of property, maybe help answer some questions. As you can see, kind of on the north side of the property there, you have a substantial amount of floodplain. They did a floodplain development permit approximately 5 or 6 years ago. So that pond that you see now was created in that floodplain. And so the significance of that pond in this case, they wanted to use that as a water feature to help essentially sell the commercial park for whatever they decide to put in there. So that's kind of how that came to be. As far as maintaining that, that's something that they'll have to maintain. They'll have to provide us more specific plans when they do a building permit for each building that's out there to make sure drainage, those type of concerns are essentially formalized, and we agree with what they're putting out there. So I just wanted to provide just a little bit more backstory on what you see.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions for Tyler or Eric? Okay, is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of the proposal? Please come forward, please.
Hello, Jessica Bloy with Johnson and Associates, 1 East Sheridan Avenue, Suite 200, 73104. This is our preliminary plat. We are going to come back for a final plat as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I would just like to note that it is the intention of the owner to develop a property association to maintain the property for the pond and the dam. And our project will install a concrete slipway to help control outflow from the dam to limit and minimize the risk of any breach.
Okay, questions for Ms. Bloy?
And so the owner is gonna lease out these commercial properties?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, other questions? All right, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Bloy. Is there anyone here who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. Okay, hearing none, I'll take a motion to either approve or deny.
I move to approve.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, Tyler?
Mrs. Craig? Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bloomer? Item is approved.
Item number 10 is discussion and possible action to approve or deny the final plat, FP 2022-01 of Tuscan Estates Phase 2. Need a staff report, Tyler?
This is the final phase of Section 2. Tuscan Estates, first section is already completed. This is the final plat of Tuscan Estates. All of the construction has been done, and they're ready to start selling lots.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? Please come forward.
Joel Harrison, Craft and Toll, 300 Point Parkway Boulevard, Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099. Only thing I'd like to add is that I'm here to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay, questions for Mr. Harrison? Okay, no questions. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll take a motion to either approve or deny.
I move to approve.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Craig?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bloomer?
Yes.
All right. Item number 11 is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny a special use permit, SUP-2022-01. We need a report, Tyler.
Yes, this is a proposal for a wedding and event center. In the proposal, they're decided to do a special use permit versus just a strict zoning change. With the special use permit, if they ever discontinue this use, then the land reverts back to its original R2 zoning. So this is their proposal.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Do we have questions for Tyler?
Tyler, what qualifies as if they stop using it? Does that mean if it's not running for a year, if they stop advertising, what triggers that?
Usually, it's a year of no use as that venue is then is called upon at that time. Unless they sell it and a new owner comes in and continues to use.
And a special use permit is renewed every year? No.
No.
Special use permit stays with the property forever.
It's
So
it's
whatever
moving like
you,
a zoning.
right, essentially, this type of activity is not allowed straight out in R2 zoning. It's something that you have to review as the planning commission to allow or not. So that's why they applied for the special use permit. Now, they had two options, either a special use permit or a planned unit development. Either way, you can do that in either one of those situations.
Okay, any other questions for Tyler or Eric? All right, thank you, Tyler. Now, is the applicant here to speak in favor of this proposal? Please come forward.
Sir, Alec Bass, Wallace Design Collective, 410 North Walnut, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73104. I am here representing the property owner. They're both here with us today to answer any other questions that we might have. Just a little bit of background on this property. They currently have their private residence on the north end of this property, so they intend to develop this on the south half, own, operate, potentially have their daughters help run it and keep it as a family business. They're anticipating an event 2 to 3 nights a week. They're intentionally setting the building back more than 200 feet from the nearest property boundary, or about 180 feet back from the right-of-way line, just to help mitigate that. We want to leave as much vegetation on this property as possible. Other questions? Let's see. Otherwise, like I said, it's just right now, it's just going to be a family-run business on this property. So we're trying to do this as politely to the neighbors and be as sensitive to any concerns they may have.
Okay. Can you point out where the residence is currently on this?
Yes, sir. If you go north and to the east, that is their residence right there.
Okay, so how much acreage did they own other than where this event center is?
They presently own 18 acres. As part of this development, should we receive approval, we will be moving forward with a lot split just for tax purposes to be able to run the business separate from their personal property and liability purposes. But otherwise, they have no intention to sell it or let anybody else operate it. And then hours of operation, they're intending right now 8 a.m. to midnight, shut it off so there's no excess noise for the adjacent neighbors, which are quite a ways away.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Bass?
I have a few. So how, you said the nearest neighbor is quite a ways away. How far away is quite a ways?
I should have measured that before I got in here. For a sense of scale, from the east edge of that building to the east property line is 250 feet. So,
Okay, so
but that's over 1,000 feet.
have you talked to any of the neighbors about what they think about it?
I personally have not. They did receive notification through this process. I can ask property owners, have you been approached?
I couldn't hear a word he said.
They have not been contacted by any of the neighbors.
Okay. The reason I ask is the last time we had a request like this, the neighbors were all concerned about noise, lights. And like, I go to bed at 9. A midnight thing would have me very upset. So, okay.
We anticipate that would be just your weekend wedding type event that might go a little bit later. But most events will probably wrap sooner, but we can't say for sure right now.
Okay, I've got a question, and I know it's probably premature, but what are the plans for the parking area? Is it going to be paved or gravel or what?
So right now, our intent is to meet the county's ordinance and requirements. We'll work with staff and the engineers to determine the minimum parking required for this development. It's one of those we wanted to get past the special use permit before we spent the time and money to advance the design.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Mr. Bass?
Do you have the driveway permit from the state for 66 highway?
We have not obtained that permit yet. There is presently an existing driveway access there. Obviously not for this specific use, but it's our intent to put the driveway right where the culvert and access drive is already located. So we do meet the separation requirements as well.
I just wanted to see if I could help answer Mr. DeFeer's question in regards to parking. Parking is based on the size of the building itself. So that's determined on our regulations, how many spaces are required, how many handicap spaces are required. Hard surface parking is required. Now, I will say, I don't know if you recall the 11 Oaks Ranch wedding event venue out on Diagonal Road and Potawatomi Road. That was a special use permit similar to what they're asking for. They did hard surface parking, but they did make a request at the time during the building permit stage to have, it's not hard surface as asphalt, it's concrete, it's kind of a compacted gravel for overflow. So I just wanted to bring that up as an example of something similar.
Okay, thank you, Eric. All right, other questions for Mr. Bass?
Is the package, is there, if the state requires a separate permit, is there some kind of package study that's done? I mean, that's kind of on a, that curve goes around, you go south, there's another line curve. You think of the number of cars that would be going in and out, probably at the same time.
Yeah, it was right.
At the same time.
So they're saying here was 800 ADT, I guess that's automobiles daily or something, and then 750. So
Yeah, those are daily counts. Those are
4,500 on US 66.
right. Those counts that are noted there are provided by ODOT, the most recent one.
Okay.
And ODOT will have a criteria to look at the location of that. I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head, but they'll look at that pretty close. So I guess my question would be if they should deny that, or they do have a secondary access off 192nd to the north, they intend to maybe use that or not.
I would have to defer to the property owner for that, but I don't think they would.
What's the speed limit there?
Yeah, I believe it is 55. Our intent would be to, I mean, if it's approved, of course, we would prefer it to be 66. We have not really examined where we would come in off of 192nd. Obviously, would not be my driveway, so we would have to then just work on a secondary access if we cannot use 66.
Okay. And then also, if you look at the aerial in your packet, you'll notice we are very close to the middle of those two curves, so we've maximized our line of sight. We also intend to have a monument sign out there that's front lit with a spotlight and have some sort of street lighting at that intersection to just increase visibility for any traffic coming through there.
I've got another question. Is there any plans to change that intersection? That the highway department, because I understand, I don't know, this might have been, and maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, but I think years ago, there was some type of a plan to fix that intersection by Hiawassee and the old 66 and the highway.
You are correct. In fact, the highway department already purchased some land from a lot of the owners on 66 for that purpose. We are one of those that we sold them about, I don't know, 10 feet or 20 feet because they plan on moving the fence back off of 66. They're going to add a shoulder lane to the highway. I don't know when that's going to happen, but they did all the land purchases already.
Okay. Yeah, I have another question. Are you up on a hill there?
Yes, that's up on a hill. And then your previous question about the intersection, they are planning on changing 192nd. Instead of going into that Y, you're going to have to turn up on Hiawassee and exit onto Hiawassee and then turn south to get to 66. That's what's on the current plans from the highway.
Okay.
But again, when they bought the land from us a couple of years ago, or maybe 3, and it's just been nothing since.
Okay, all right.
Completed the expansion east of Windsor, and now they're moving to the west side, but it's just adding a shoulder, like a safety shoulder. But for the 3 roads to meet there, I do it 5 times a day.
Yeah.
They all just kind of meet, and it's not very organized,
No.
I guess, so they are changing it so that 192nd is gonna be an actual turn as opposed to just everyone looking at each other and deciding when someone's gonna go. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Do we have any other questions for the applicants?
So as part of the permit, did you, the last time we had one like this, they had a whole packet on like the details for hours and how they were going to reduce the line of sight to the neighbors and the lighting and all that stuff. Was that part of this one? Because I didn't see it in my packet.
So we knew that we'd have to come here prepared to answer some of these questions. As far as our submission, we wanted to get through the initial special use permit application before we spent the time, money, and effort to develop further details. I can say we will be working with county staff and county engineers to comply with all ordinances. And we do understand that, we live out here, so it's not just people calling this business. People are going to show up knocking on their front door if there are issues. So we are sensitive to the neighbors.
If I can add to that, if you look at the picture, you can see that there's a lot of vegetation in the property, not only within the 5 acres that we're proposing for the special use permit, but also in the remaining acreage. And we are going to save every tree possible. I mean, I am a landscaper. That's what I do for a living. Build swimming pools. I love trees. So there will not be a single tree cut out unless it has to be for the purpose of the building construction. I believe that the vegetation and the height of the trees will defer a lot of the lighting concerns. So currently from my house, which is directly to the north of this proposed building, I can't see the site. I'm sure I'll be able to see it once the roof is on, but there's so much tree line that I can't see it from my house. And that's one of the things that is important to us, and the positioning of it is that none of our neighbors really be able to see it much either. You'd have to really be looking for it. So,
Thank you.
All right.
I just-
Go ahead.
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Jones.
it's me. On the last page of the staff report there, you'll notice some additional notes that I made there. On a plan unit development, which is what you're referring to, Mr. Weiss, they usually have all those questions answered to where you can look at that beforehand. In a special use permit, those are something that's usually discussed between you and the applicant. And so whatever is agreed upon, those stipulations are added into the resolution if this is approved to what they have to follow.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bass. Is there anyone present who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. And state your name and address, please.
My name is Rex Friend, and I own a property, the second property to the east of this. And so I'm very familiar with the curve and I'm not really against the proposal. My neighbors are good people, but it is going to be a serious traffic hazard if there's a lot of cars turning left coming from the population centers of Oklahoma City and Edmond. A lot of them arriving at the same time for an event. And there's already wrecks happening when people stop to turn left into the driveway immediately to the east of this plot. And people get hit from behind because they're waiting for the traffic to be clear. And then they go off a steep descent and through a fence. So I've seen that happen being the second neighbor to the east. We're not against the proposal, but there needs to be some way of communicating to ODOT that this is going to create a need for a left turn lane at the very least.
Can you just show us where your property is? Don't touch the screen, but just sort of point to it. I mean, if you can get close, go ahead and get close to it, but don't put your finger on the screen. Just kind of just get close to it and point out where your property is.
I'm past this property. This property is relatively square and acres. It's land on the south side, and so I'm 400 feet further down, something like that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And my address of that property is 13535 East Highway 66, Arcadia, Oklahoma.
Now, sir, your name was Mr. Friend, is that?
Rex Friend.
Friend, okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Friend from the commission?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. is there anyone else present that wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny.
I move to approve.
We need a second?
I'll second.
Oh, wait, what is?
Well, I'm just gonna say, before you approve, you need to go over the stipulations, if there's anything that you want to add as far as hours of operation. I mean, I understand what he stated, but that's typically a discussion that's had, so we can essentially get that in writing as we move forward.
I didn't see any other neighbors coming forward saying that it was gonna be a problem, so if they're okay with it, I don't see a need to actually. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We put it in the minutes of the meeting that we can add to the resolution. So that resolution is what we abide by as we move forward. So as an example, if the planning commission is good with Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to midnight, you would need to state that in your approval of the item if that's what you wish to do.
Right.
And that's the same thing on the other items. If you had any concerns about lighting, it sounds like that they're trying to keep everything as low key as possible. It sounds like they're trying to keep trees and everything there, but those concerns are typically the concerns we have in regards to these type of events, especially noise. So I just want to bring that attention because that's added to the resolution.
I appreciate that. The only reason I wasn't going to do the same thing that Rob did the other time was because the one neighbor that was here seemed to believe he was able to resolve it with the owner as issues happen. So I'm good with it the way it is.
Okay, so Eric, I didn't see anything specified here.
That's right. That's typically a discussion held between the planning commission and the applicant when you do a special use permit.
When this item goes before the Board of County Commissioners, usually it's in the form of a resolution. And in that resolution, we point out those things that you brought out that they have to abide by.
Okay, so the fact that there's nothing in writing here and we didn't specify anything, we're just taking their word for it and that of the hours of operation. And so if they say, well, hey, we changed our mind and we want to go till 3 o'clock in the morning, they could do that
If it's not specified.
Okay, all right. Well, all right, who made the motion?
I did.
Okay, do you want to retract your motion and maybe we make what they said, actually put it in writing?
And then what, defer it until next month?
No, we can do it right now. If you
Okay.
retract your motion and then we can have a further discussion.
I retract my motion.
Okay, so, Mr. Bass, would you come forward, please? So,
Yes, sir.
okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so we've got days of operation, we've got hours of operation, capacity, parking, signage, building. Okay, so now tell us again what the plans are.
So right now, 7 days a week, just because we don't want to, if there's holiday weekends or certain things, we don't want to restrict ourselves from there. We
Okay.
anticipate most events to be on the weekends.
Okay, 7 days per week. How about the hours of operation?
8 a.m. to midnight, we are agreeable with.
Okay. All right, now, the capacity.
So capacity, we are anticipating, at a jam-packed event, no more than 400 people, but typical events would be far less. And as far as the building structure itself, would be defer to fire code for that.
All right.
We're really anticipating 100 at an average event. We just weren't sure in today's format right here. We don't want to restrict ourselves more than we need to.
Okay.
So is there
Now,
a certain number?
what Eric mentioned was that the parking capacity is based on the square footage of the event.
Correct.
So,
Right now,
8,000 feet if I remember.
yeah, right now, we're not anticipating a 400 person event, and we're gonna, in our formal application for building permit, we are probably gonna be talking to staff about having a certain amount of paid parking and a certain amount of overflow parking for if there were a larger event of some sort. Typical events, I think the fire code is gonna restrict the structure to, well, I'd have to defer to them, but it was like 300 something people that could be within the structure itself. If it was just jam packed and you didn't have anything else going on in there.
Okay, so Eric, for an 8,000 square foot building, what's the minimum parking?
So typically it's 2 spaces per 500 square feet, typically. But again, it just kind of depends on what the end of the design is at the end stage. On the other applications that we have as far as special use permits, it doesn't specify the capacity. More of the concern in the resolutions in the past had to do with hours of operation, days a week, lighting, those sort of things. So capacity necessarily wasn't specified in the previous ones, FYI. So that's, I don't know if you have to go to that extent. Like he stated, the fire code is gonna put a cap on that to some degree already.
Okay, correct. So, well, I'll ask the other commissioners what they think. If we need to specify a capacity, or we can leave that open. Okay, all right.
Just essentially, we'll just have the fire code dictate based on the size of the building.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, now the signage, you had mentioned the signage.
Yes, sir. It's our intent right now. At some point, I don't know if it'll be part of the initial construction, but to have a monument sign at the entry. It will not be, it'll have a spotlight on the front. It will not be backlit. It will not have any video board or anything like that. It'll just be a on the ground, low key sign, but enough to let people know where they need to be turning in.
All right, Eric, another question. What are the signage regulations for a building permit of this type?
So typically on the signs that we've done in the past is very similar to what he had stated. They just have the sign stating the name of the event center with it illuminated on the front. No problem. Typically those signs, what we've seen in the past, are a maximum of 100 square feet. You can go a little bit larger than that. If I recall correctly, I think the cap is 200 square feet.
Okay,
And
all right.
sir, for clarification, is that already defined in the county's ordinances?
Yes, it's in the zoning regulation, yes.
Right, so we don't need to, unless you wanted something smaller, we wouldn't have to put it in this resolution.
Yeah, I mean, we can just state that the county zoning regulation will dictate.
Okay.
I didn't know if you wanted to go something larger than what the county dictates already. Right, he'll have to get, that is correct, he'll have to get a sign permit from ODOT.
Right.
Okay, great. So we don't have to address that in this application. All right, the building exterior, what are you planning on the building exterior?
That is currently in design. The only thing I could say at this time is we can commit to you that it's not going to be an exposed metal finish. It's going to be something either stone or masonry or wood, but I don't want to specify a specific material. The owners have stated a modern architecture is something that appeals to them, but we can commit to it will not be a metal building if that will satisfy the planning commission.
Okay, any comments from the other commissioners about that? No? All right. Okay, so we've got the site-proof screening, and you talk about maintaining the existing trees.
Correct. So our setback from the property line and tree preservation,
Okay.
we'll take care of that.
Okay. Okay, and the lighting and any special lighting that you're proposing, or?
I don't know how to quantify or define that for this resolution, other than it's we're gonna have to have lighting in the parking lot for safety purposes. That just might be one LED light or something right on the building. We intend to put some sort of lighting at the access point on the highway for safety purposes there. Otherwise, for the events, we want low-key lighting. We don't want anything big and bright.
So when the Turnpike Authority basically bulldozed their way right past my house, they've got this special lighting they put in that illuminates the ground, but it really minimizes the backscatter and the sideway scatter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not quite the eyesore I thought it was going to be. So if you would be willing to commit to lighting that would minimize the lateral spread, just illuminate just the parts that were down, you probably have a much easier time with neighbors like me who don't like a lot of light pollution when they're trying to sleep.
Yes, sir. So is that, are you looking for light cutoff at the property line, or are you looking for just the glare of being able to see something in the distance? So if we had,
Typically, what people provide is hooded.
yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, hooded lighting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. The only place I could see that possibly changing is at the point of access if ODOT prefers us to do something different.
Well, obviously, you're going to have to do whatever they think is safest. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And any limitations on the noise?
The reason this particular item was brought up is on the other venues that we have, especially one that was approved here recently, we've been getting quite a few calls. So it's people who are taking, amplifiers outside of the structure. They're using it. It's, there's not a lot of noise out in that area to begin with, so it just travels quite some distance. And so that's why it's added to this, to see if you wanted to allow them to have amplification outside of the building. You want to just confine it to the building itself. If you wanted to have noise shut off, as an example, at 10 instead of midnight, again, that's.
Yeah, I thought about that. I just figured that they would be calling the sheriff to, no? The sheriff won't do anything about it?
I'm not going to speak for the sheriff, but I'm gonna go. I don't think that's a big concern.
Got it. Okay.
But
yeah, then I'd say, limiting the outside amplified noise to a reasonable time would be reasonable.
if I'm not mistaken, on the last one, which was on the northeast part of the county outside of Luther, it was 10 p.m. is which noise.
For outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that agreeable?
Okay.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay. So we're gonna say limit outside amplified amplified music.
Yeah, I'd say 'cause otherwise people
amplified
talking.
sound to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Prior to 10 p.m. All right.
And that was just outdoors, correct?
Right.
Yeah, I said limit outdoor amplified sound amp to to no later than 10 p.m.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, since I've been writing this down, I guess I can make the motion. All right. So we're looking at, this is item number 11. So I make a motion to approve the special use permit, SUP 2022-01, with the following stipulations: that the days of operation will be 7 days per week, that the hours of operation will be 8 a.m. to midnight, that the site-proof screening will be to preserve the existing trees. I mean, obviously, if there's an ice storm or some natural disaster that, that can't be helped, but no cutting down the existing trees.
From a code perspective, do we need to clarify to say maximum or most practical extent possible? Do we need to say within so many feet of the property boundary?
Just maximum extent practical. I mean,
Okay.
essentially, when you turn in the building permit, we have a code that goes over landscaping anyway, so I'm sure as long as you fall within that provision, it sounds like you want to try to keep the number of trees there
Yeah.
as much as possible, so.
Okay,
We
so.
do, but I mean, we're gonna lose some for the parking lot.
Well,
Sure,
obviously, yeah,
in the
right,
building,
obviously,
sure,
I'm gonna correct that.
Okay.
So the site-proof screening is to, and then, give me that again, Eric.
So keep as many trees on site to the maximum extent practicable.
Okay. Site-proof screening is to keep as many existing trees on site as practicable. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the lighting, you're gonna use hooded lighting, except with, if there's some ODOT regulations that counteract hooded lighting.
Correct, at the point of entry, yeah.
Right.
Everything on site will be hooded lighting.
Okay, great. And the noise, you're gonna limit the outside amplified sound to no later than 10 PM.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion?
I second.
All right, roll call, Tyler?
Mrs. Craig? Mrs. Patterson? Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloomer?
Yes.
All right, so that's approved. All right, we'll move on to item number 12. Discussion and possible action to approve or deny a special use permit, SUP 2022-02. Report, Tyler?
Yes, this is a request for a special use permit to allow a food truck to be parked in a lot within the area that's zoned general commercial for the sales of food. And this is more of a permanent situation versus the truck moving. The truck is going to remain there. I'm not sure what their hours of operations are, but the truck will remain there. So this is what this request is about.
Okay, questions for Tyler?
Tyler, what's in that rectangle building just to the south?
It's a commercial strip mall.
Okay.
So they have various commercial activities
Activities
there.
in there.
They have that building broken up into suites.
Okay.
Mhm. There's some marijuana grow houses in there and
Right, I
those
think
kinds of
there's a
things.
golf cart,
Golf
repair,
cart,
servicing
repair.
kind of activity. So
and I
there's-
believe there's a storage unit in there
That's further south.
further south. Okay. This is general commercial type businesses.
Okay. Other questions for Tyler? All right, thank you, Tyler. Is there anyone present who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? Please come forward. Is the applicant here? Okay.
I own a bed kitchen and which is parked right there, and I propose to get some electricity because the owner, Mr. Lee, they give me 220 voltage, and sometimes we use equipment like microwave and lights and stuff like that, so it's not enough power. So I call OG&E to drop me some electricity. I did it some in other cities like Colorado, and after I said it was, I didn't. I just gonna have the permit, but I learned I need to have a special permit to drop those 220 from the pole. And I called OG&E and I ordered a transformer, and it cost me $3,000. And I called the electrician, and they tell me we have to have the special permit from you guys. This is why I'm here now.
Okay, all right. And what was your name again, sir?
Jose Molina.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Molina. Is there any questions for Mr. Molina from the commission? Okay, thank you, Mr. Molina.
I just want to see if I can assist Mr. Molina as far as what his request is. If you look at the picture that you have in front of you and even on the picture on the screen, the food truck is there currently. So our regulation currently does not regulate food trucks. This issue is before you because he wants to, like he stated, he wants to make it more permanent. He wants to have more electricity to the food truck, especially during the summer months, so he can have air conditioning, those sort of things to operate. So in that case, since it's really, I guess the closest thing that is equivalent to it is like a drive-through restaurant, if you will, to where people are going to be coming up there. I think he has one or two tables that if people wanted to sit there, but essentially they would get what they want and they would leave. So we just wanted to make sure you guys, since this is nothing that we've ever seen before, since it's more permanent in nature instead of just there a couple of days a week, had oversight on this type of activity. But his main request is for an electrical upgrade, and since you're going to be leaving that there permanently to some degree, that's why it's here today.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Is there anyone present who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll take a motion to either approve or deny.
So just before you do that, this is a special use permit again. So you may want to ask him what his hours of operation are. Yeah, so in this particular case, our concern is not necessarily hours of operation as far as from the county engineer and the planning commission. Obviously, he has access along Waterloo Road from an access driveway and Boucher Drive as well. Obviously, in the picture that you have there, there's a setback that we have 100 feet from Waterloo Road. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention to see if there was anything additional that you would like to add, if there's any safety concerns with the truck being there as far as access from people who are coming off of Waterloo Road. Maybe Mr. Molina, because this truck, from what I can tell, has been out there for probably 4 or 5 months, give or take. So maybe he can provide some information. Correct. No, he does not, but he got a letter of authorization from the landowner to place the truck on the property indefinitely.
Did that authorization also give him permit?
We'll get the letter that was sent to us.
If he no longer places the truck, does that mean someone else can place the truck since it attaches to the truck?
Right, I get your concern. Like I said, this is new territory.
Eric, can you say this landowner, how much does the landowner own everything in this picture?
Right, he owns that piece of property. He owns this shopping center. He owns the ground where the shopping center is located.
Is there a different requirement for a temporary, like a food truck comes in and, his wastewater and things like that, he has to dispose of it off-site. Now that it's a permanent thing here, does that have to be addressed?
Maybe Mr. Molina can provide the answer to that, as he may take the truck off of the property for periods of time. I mean, because it's permanent in the sense that he's getting more power there, I would assume he would be there more often than not. But that does not mean that he may not have to take the property to deal with those issues.
Yeah, I have a question. Mr. Molina, you mentioned that OG&E wants to charge you $3,000 for the 220 electrical service?
They already did. They put the transformer already, and they dropped the line. But to finish up, we need a special permit. Uh, I do understand about we take the truck to the car wash, and I have a commissary in Oakland, and we come and we drop the gray water right there too. So
So,
anytime it's drivable anywhere.
so the 220 is already there and you already paid for the service, is that right?
Yeah, the 220 is there already, but it's enough electricity. But over here, I come from Colorado, and it was not that hot, so I sent to build a truck. And California, for not a hot place, so I moved to Oklahoma, and that truck gets very hot, and this is why I require more power to put the air conditioning at the top.
Okay, all right. So the power is there and you already paid for it.
Yeah, the power I pay Mr. Lee, the owner of the property. So the power the extra power I have, I already paid the OG&E, and I paid the electrician who's gonna finish up the work in case the permit gets approval.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Mr. Molina?
Did this only come about because of OG?
Right. They contacted us, but we also have to go out to do an inspection on the wiring that has been done. That's why we were notified of it.
So why did you feel that you needed to require him to get
It's like the snow cone stand out there in Deer Creek, as an example. That's something that was not allowed on the property. We don't have, the county doesn't have any regulations in regards to it. It was just the next logical step in my mind.
So what you're doing here is you're allowing Signage to change a land use issue, and it really needs to be the owner of the underlying. Because as you said earlier, so I don't think Signage has Signage in that kind of request. And I don't, and you just also said that we don't regulate requests. So if the underlying property is owned to allow the commercial, then I'm not seeing why it would be done. I'm concerned for that property. He's not. You said that especially this time close to the property. So if Mr. Molina is no longer decided to move his truck, is no longer using it, since it flows with the property, then ideally another food truck can come in and use the same facility.
Yes.
See, my concern is he's already paid for the power. The 220 is there. So do we even need, I mean, can he withdraw this and just continue to operate his food truck and run the air conditioner and?
No, because he said that the electrician that was going to finish it, OG&E did their transformer and all that stuff, but Mr. Molina said that he needs the electrician to finish putting in,
Okay.
and the electrician won't do it without this permit.
It's,
Okay, so then would it be a land use permit, or would it be more of a line of building?
You would be in the line of a miscellaneous permit as far as just the inspection of the electrical itself.
Is the underlying property is 6A?
It is zone CG, which is the most intensive commercial out of the 4 commercial categories that we have. In my opinion, no. But it doesn't specify that directly. I equate it to the closest thing that's in CG that is allowed is a drive-through. a drive-through restaurant to where you pick up food and you leave. Yes.
Was the electrician that requested this permit an OG&E contractor or an OG&E employee?
Yeah, they tell me I had to have a permit, and I tell them I go get it in Oklahoma, and they tell me you guys need a special permit because nobody asked for this kind of electricity to drop down to the trucks. I'm the first one, so it's why it become an issue.
I think I might be able just to kind of clarify what he's stating. Essentially, if someone is putting miscellaneous power, is how we would classify this in this case, we still have to go out to inspect it. So he is going to hire a private licensed electrical contractor to go out to do that work.
Okay.
Once that work is complete, they will get this miscellaneous permit from the county. They will then set up a time for us to go out there to inspect to make sure that what is in place is correct and meets code. Once that passes, we then send that notification on to OG&E for approval, and they electrify that at that time.
So if he doesn't need an SUP, he needs a building permit or a miscellaneous building permit.
Right. Like I said, the logic behind this application was we don't regulate these type of operations, but at the same time, you are making this permanent to some degree. Obviously, you're putting a large investment of power into that location. So I would assume he is going to be there more often than not. I understand that he can move the truck anytime. I get that. But
Okay, can I make a suggestion here?
Please.
I think that he can do what he's doing without any land use type permission from you. So it sounds like he needs still to obtain a different kind of permit, an electrical permit. I think Eric said a miscellaneous type permit. I think that, in my opinion, out of fairness to him, should be permitted to withdraw this, refund his application funds for this, and apply it to the permit that he does need, which is miscellaneous. And I don't know what that costs. I don't know if it's any different, if you owe him money or he owes you money, but to work that out.
That sounds good to me. Eric, can you speak to that?
Yeah, the special use permit is more than what the miscellaneous. The miscellaneous permit itself, there is no cost. What is being paid for is the inspection, which is $60. So yes, we would owe him money.
Okay, all right. So, Mr. Molina, did you understand that discussion that was going on? So that because it's really not appropriate for a special use permit, which is going to attach to the land which you don't own, but you have permission to operate there. So what you really need is a miscellaneous permit to have the electrical inspection, and that would be $60. Well, unless it's, I mean, at this point, we think that's what the fee is, but probably we're gonna need to refund you. If you can withdraw this special use permit application, and then we would refund you the difference between the special use permit fee and, okay, we've got somebody that's back there that's making signals. No?
He's trying to get her.
He's
Okay.
trying to tell me he's missing.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Molina, is Spanish your first language?
Yes,
Would you prefer someone to explain this to you in Spanish?
yes,
Okay, we have someone that can help.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good.
okay,
Thank you, Joe.
Just hang on. We'll get somebody in here that can translate.
okay.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so,
Are we able to come back to this item?
yeah, I guess, Gretchen, can we come back to this item? Okay. Okay, we're just gonna defer it till we get a translator to come in. All right. Yeah, just to move on to, item number, let's see. We're gonna move on to item number 13, and then we're gonna come back to item number 12 when we get a translator to come in. Okay. Item number 13 is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny the general plat GP 2022-06 of Johnson's Way. We need a staff report, Tyler.
Johnson's Way. Oh, yeah, this particular project involves a lot split. They're taking, on our new regulations, if you got 5 acres, doing a lot split where your lots are greater than 5 acres, they can do it administratively. But if it's less than 5 acres, we have to do a plat. In this situation, I believe they want to divide their property, which is 5.02 acres, into 2 lots. And in order to do that, you'd have to, the platting process requires you to do a general plat and then a final plat. And that's what these 2 items, the next 2 items, one is the general plat, and the second item, item 14, is the final plat, where they're splitting this. That's required to do because of the size of the lots. So that's what's happening here.
Okay. Questions for Tyler?
I just would like to provide a little bit more back information. This item initially went to the Board of Adjustment. As you will see, there is a 3-acre lot and a 2-acre lot. On the 3-acre lot, if this is approved by the Planning Commission, without it going to the Board of Adjustment, you would have a non-conforming situation because you would have 2 residential structures on 3 acres. The way the property is currently zoned, which is R2, you have to have 2 acres for each residential structure. So in this case, you would have to have a total of 4 acres. The Board of Adjustment approved their variance application for this non-conforming use to move forward in this situation. So I just wanted to make sure you had all that information.
Okay. All right, thank you, Eric. Okay, other questions for either Tyler or Eric?
You might have already said this. Who's requesting the lot split? Is it one of the owners of these 2 houses? Okay. So, okay. Okay.
Okay, now the easement, that it's a 36-foot easement, and is that for a driveway to get to the back lot? Is that?
Right, that 30-foot easement is a driveway that already exists.
Okay. All
But
right.
yes, it's for access.
Okay. So there, it looks like on this general plat, it looks like there's a driveway there, but is that a driveway coming down? Okay.
Yes.
Like between the 2 properties?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, but it does.
Okay, so they're just going to extend that easement to.
So the easement itself is north and south. So that easement already exists. That's always been there.
Oh, okay. It's always been there.
Yes.
Okay.
We're just showing that so you know that they have access to the property.
All right. Okay. All right. So you're the owners. You want to speak in favor of this proposal. So state your name and address and tell us why you want us to approve this.
Okay. I am Blake, and it's my wife Megan Johnson. Address 2750 Northwest 234th Street, Edmond, Oklahoma 73025. This property originally bought by my in-laws, my wife's parents, as a full 5 acres with the house, with intentions of splitting this to build a second home for my wife and our 4 children, so that we can be close with our grandparents. Our kids attend Deer Creek School, which is right across the street. 2 of our children will actually be attending Deer Creek School's intermediate school, which is right across the street next year. We have one in there this year. What we're asking is to be able to use those front 2 acres to build our own home. We have talked, of course, we've had the surveyors out. They've checked all everything. Everything is good. DEQ said everything was good. When there's no flooding issues. Our only issue was we have to come and ask you to be able to split off the 2 acres from the 5, since we're not splitting a total 5 acres.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do we have questions for Mr. Johnson?
Is there a reason for the like southern cutout?
That was just to cover the 2 acres,
Okay.
just to make the
it a
full
full
2
2
acres.
acres.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, other questions for the Johnsons? All right, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present who wants to speak against this proposal? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny.
I move to approve.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, Tyler.
Mrs. Craig, Mrs. Patterson, Mr. DeFuria,
Yes.
Mr. Wise,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 14, which is a discussion and possible action to approve or deny the final plat, FP 2022-02 of Johnson's Way. All right.
This is the final portion, as they've created a plat to be signed and go before the Board of County Commission for approval
Okay,
and filing.
all right. Any questions for Tyler? All right. Does the applicant want to come forward again, or you don't have to? I mean, basically, we understand this is the final plat. Okay, all right. Okay. Any questions for the applicants? Okay, all right. Now, is there anyone present who wants to speak against the final plat? Please come forward. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or deny the final plat.
I move to approve.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Roll call, Tyler.
Mrs. Craig? Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. DeFuria?
Yes.
Mr. Wise?
Yes.
And Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
That was approved.
Now, we're going to go back to item 12.
Mr. Molina.
All right. So, Mr. Molina and the translator, would you like to come forward?
This is Enrique. He works in my office.
Thank you, Enrique. We appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. So, would you like, I mean, you and Enrique discussed what we had talked about earlier, to withdraw the permit, and then we would refund you the difference between what you paid and the cost of a utility permit. What's the name of the permit, Eric? A miscellaneous electrical permit. So, do you agree to that, Mr. Molina?
Que le van a regresar el dinero del permiso que usted había pagado previamente y nomás le van a cobrar ahora sí el permiso correctamente, que es del que le llaman para poder poner la luz.
Dice que gracias.
He said yes.
Okay, and then he would need to apply for the miscellaneous permit. Okay, okay, so, so the electrician would apply for this miscellaneous electrical permit and, use the money that he's already paid that's not gonna be refunded to him.
So does this money stay in an account?
I don't know who did that, but yes. He has to pick and choose his own. He has to move electricity.
¿Tiene un electricista?
Ya hasta le pagué.
¿Cómo se llama el nombre?
Ah, ahorita no lo tengo conmigo, pero ya le pagué.
Yes, he does have an electrical contractor that he's paid for already. He, not at this moment, but he does have his information somewhere.
So the electrical,
Registered with us as well.
okay.
He's licensed and registered with us.
So does your electrician need to reach out to get this other permit?
So is his refund, is it gonna stay in an account?
So we'll use this, the portion we're not gonna get back to him for the electrical part, we just need the electrician to contact us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, yes, if he can contact me.
Okay, we'll get a business card
Yeah.
from you and then
Yeah.
I'll explain.
Okay.
Que entonces la parte que le van a regresar a ustedes se va a quedar en una cuenta con esta señora de aquí. Entonces su electricista tiene que comunicarse con ella para que saquen el permiso. El electricista tiene que sacar el permiso y ya sacando ese permiso ya le dan permiso a usted para sacar la luz.
Gracias.
So thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so, one more question. So Gretchen, since he's withdrawing it, do we have to have any type of a vote here? Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Molina, and you understand what needs to be done, and Marquita is the person that your electrician's gonna need to contact. And then the county will refund your money other than for the cost of the electrical miscellaneous permit.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Enrique.
Sí. Thank you.
Oh, the fee fund report.
Okay, item number 15 is a discussion and possible action to receive the February and March 2022 fee fund reports.
Yeah, the February and March fee fund reports is in your folders. And it looks like the March report doubles what the February report was. The economy is supposed to be down and everything, but the housing business is going up. I don't understand it. Everything was supposed to go down the tubes, but it looks like things are looking up. As far as building permits is concerned, they're really,
It's all these California people that want to move to Oklahoma.
I guess, they're bringing that good marijuana money. Yeah, but they're building like mad. Yeah, so it's all good.
So do we need to move to receive? I'll move to receive.
I second.
Okay, roll call, Tyler.
Mrs. Craig, Ms. Patterson, Mr. DeFuria.
Yes.
And Mr. Wise,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bloomer.
Yes.
Item number 16 is new business in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Section 311.9. New business is defined as any matter not known about or which could not have been reasonably foreseen prior to the time of posting the agenda. Is there any new business?
I have none.
Okay, no new business, all right. Item number 17 is adjournment. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Roll call?
Mrs. Craig, Ms. Patterson, Mr. DeFuria,
Yes.
Mr. Wise,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bloomer. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Well, that was not too bad.
Those two items on the front, that's probably what would have taken the longest.